It is now my distinct honor and pleasure, Boone County, Indiana, please join me in welcoming Senator Ted Cruz, the next president of the United States.
Isn't she going to make an amazing first lady? Thank you for your strong leadership. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for standing and fighting for conservative values each and every day here in Indiana. For your leadership, keeping us safe, standing and fighting and defending the men and women of law enforcement. Each of you, patriots who have come together standing and fighting to save our great nation. About a word. By looking to its history. If you look at the roots of the word politics, it has two parts. Poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning blood-sucking parasites. Accurate description of Washington, D.C. And a lot more important than politics. We're here tonight because our country's in crisis. Because we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Because our constitutional rights are under assault. And because America has receded from leadership in the world. And yet I am here this evening with a word of hope and encouragement. All across Indiana and all across this country, people are waking up and help is on the way. Will be about three issues: jobs, freedom, and security. Let's start with jobs. I want to take a minute to speak to all the single moms who are here, who are working 2 and 3 part-time jobs, who've had your hours forcibly reduced to 28, 29 hours a week because Obamacare kicks in at 30 hours a week. I want to talk to all the truck drivers, all the plumbers and electricians, all the mechanics and union members, all the men and women with calluses on your hands, who've seen wages stagnating year after year after year. Cost of living keeps going up, and yet somehow your paycheck doesn't seem to keep pace. I want to talk to all the young people. Yeah. And Hillary and Bernie, take a look at all the young people coming out of school. Student loans up to your eyeballs. Scared. Am I going to get a job? What does the future hold for me? And you know, the media, they try to tell us this is the new normal. This is as good as it gets. Well, the people of Indiana know that is a complete and utter lie. To talk about making America great again. You could even print that on a baseball cap. But the real question is, do you understand the principles and values that made America great in the first place? It isn't Washington, D.C. The heart of our economy is small businesses all across the United States of America. If you want to unleash economic growth, you take the boot of the federal government off the back of the necks of small businesses. And before him, JFK, both understood that when you cut taxes and reduce regulations on small businesses, you see millions and millions of high-paying jobs. The path blazed by Reagan and JFK to bring back jobs to America. Mr. President, we will repeal every word of Obamacare. Common sense health care reform that makes health insurance personal and portable and affordable and keeps government from getting in between us and our doctors. Pass a simple flat tax. We can fill out our taxes on a postcard. We should abolish the IRS. Rein in the EPA. Federal regulators who have descended like locusts on farmers and ranchers and small businesses building jobs all across this country. And the Obama administration's war on coal. Develop the incredible energy resources God has given America and become independent of foreign nations that hate us. Stop amnesty and secure the borders, and end sanctuary cities, and end welfare benefits for those here illegally. When we do all that, we're going to see millions and millions of new high-paying jobs. We're going to see jobs coming back from Mexico, jobs coming back from China. We're going to see manufacturing jobs coming back to the state of Indiana. We're going to see wages rising for Americans across this country. We're going to see young people coming out of school with 2, 3, 4, 5 job offers. See morning in America again. The second issue at stake in this election is freedom. You know, just a few weeks ago, the passing of Justice Scalia underscored the stakes of this election. It is not just one, but 2 branches of the federal government that hang in the balance. If you value religious liberty, the right to live according to our faith and conscience, the right of each of us to seek out and worship God Almighty free of interference from the federal government, you value the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms and protect your family. Liberal justice away from a radical Supreme Court that would strip those and many other rights from every American all across this country. Now, you know, a couple of debates ago, Hugh Hewitt asked all of us about religious liberty and the Supreme Court. And Donald Trump turned to me and he said, "Ted, I've known a lot more politicians than you have." Well, in that, he's clearly correct. Donald Trump has been supporting Washington liberal Democratic politicians for 40 years. I have no experience with that. Donald continued, he said, "Ted, when it comes to religious liberty, when it comes to the Supreme Court, you've got to learn to compromise. You've got to learn to cut deals with the Democrats and go along to get along." Well, let me be very, very clear to the men and women of Indiana. I will not compromise away your religious liberty. I will not compromise away your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Earlier this week, Donald Trump went on the Today Show. And he decided to agree with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama that we need to allow grown men to use a little girl's bathroom. Now listen, this is not a matter of left or right or Democrat or Republican. This is a matter of basic common sense. The father of 2 young girls. And it doesn't make any sense at all to allow an adult grown man, a stranger, to be alone in a bathroom with little girls. To agree with Hillary and Obama, that is political correctness on steroids. Indiana are looking for a leader with common sense, willing to take on the PC police and willing to speak the truth. So let me make things real simple. Even if Donald Trump dresses up as Hillary Clinton, he shouldn't be using the girl's recipe. The third critical issue on this election. By the way, I apologize for that image. It's going to haunt you in Donald in a bright blue pantsuit.
Should be orange.
But let me just say to Jimmy Fallon and the Tonight Show, please give us that image. The critical issue in this election is security. For 7 years, we've had a president who abandons and alienates our friends and allies, and who shows weakness and appeasement to our enemies. You know, again, 2 debates ago, Donald Trump explained if he were president, he would be neutral between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, let me be very clear. As president, I will not be neutral. America will stand unapologetically with the nation of Israel. If you can't tell the difference between our friends and our enemies, if you can't tell the difference between Israel and Islamic terrorists who want to kill us, that raises real questions about your fitness and judgment to be commander-in-chief. The last 7 years, we've seen our military weakened. We've seen readiness undermined. We've seen morale of our troops plummet. And you know, as a nation, this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen another left-wing Democratic president, Jimmy Carter, weaken and undermine the military. And then in January 1981, Ronald Reagan came into office. And what did Reagan do? He cut taxes, he lifted regulations, millions and millions of new jobs were created. It generated trillions in new revenue for the federal government, and he used that revenue to rebuild our military, and we bankrupted the Soviet Union and won the Cold War. I intend to do the exact same thing with radical Islamic terrorism. Repeal Obamacare, pass a flat tax, rein in the regulators, stop amnesty. That's going to create millions and millions of new high-paying jobs. It's going to bring manufacturing jobs back to Indiana. It's going to raise wages across this country. And that's going to generate trillions in new government revenue, and we will use that revenue to rebuild our military so it remains the mightiest fighting force. You know, one of the saddest things that we've seen over the last 7 years has been this president sending our fighting men and women into combat with rules of engagement so strict that their arms are tied behind their back that they cannot fight, they cannot win, they cannot defeat the enemy. That is wrong. It is immoral. And mark my words, in January 2017, it will end. To every jihadist on the face of the earth who's declared war on America, who's endeavoring to murder innocent Americans, a day of reckoning is coming. Coming to get you, and we are not coming to interrogate you. We are not coming to read you your rights. We are not coming to negotiate. We are coming to kill you. And to every soldier and sailor and airman and marine and sheriff, to every police officer and firefighter and first responder, the days of having a president who abandons, who vilifies the fighting men and women, those days will be over, and you will have the thanks of a grateful nation and a commander-in-chief who has your back. A little politics. This has been an interesting year. Hasn't been boring. You know, we started out a year ago with 17 Republican candidates. An amazingly diverse, young, talented, dynamic field. What a contrast with the Democrats. You know, the Democratic field consists of a wild-eyed socialist with ideas that are dangerous for America and the world. And Bernie Sanders. And over the past year, the Republican primary has done what it's supposed to do. It's narrowed the field. And as we stand here today, there are two and only two people who have any plausible path to becoming the Republican nominee. Me and Donald Trump. Yeah. And what we're seeing nationally all across the country is that 65 to 70% of Republicans recognize that Donald Trump is not the best candidate to go head-to-head with Hillary Clinton. That if Donald is our nominee, Hillary wins, and she wins by double digits. Let me tell you how bad it is. A few weeks ago, there was a general election poll in Utah. Bright red Utah. Hillary is beating Donald Trump in Utah. Now, if the Republican can't carry the most conservative state in the Union, we are looking at a Walter Mondale level bloodbath. On the other hand, if I'm the nominee, we beat Hillary Clinton. We are winning in key swing states. We are winning with independents. And let me tell you, we are beating Hillary Clinton with young people by 14 points. So what we're seeing across Indiana and all across the country is Republicans uniting behind this campaign. Of the 17 Republicans who started, 5 have supported our campaign. We are endorsed by Rick Perry, Lindsey Graham, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, and Carly Fiorina. We throw into that mix Mike Lee and Glenn Beck and Mark Levin. Got the full spectrum of the Republican Party coming together, united. Now, Indiana is a battleground. Right now, Donald and I are neck and neck in the state of Indiana. And the entire country, the eyes of America are on Indiana. Indiana has a platform. Indiana has a national megaphone. And we can decide which path we want to go down. Do we want a candidate whose only approach to the problems in America is to yell and scream and curse and insult anyone standing near him? Or do we want to get behind a campaign with a positive, optimistic, forward-looking, conservative If your car is broke down in the driveway, do you want your neighbor to come over, stand in the driveway, and yell and scream and curse at the car? Or do you actually want someone to lift the hood and fix the engine? On Tuesday, Indiana votes. And I want to ask every one of you to come out and vote for me 10 times. Now look, we're not Democrats. I'm not suggesting voter fraud. But if every one of you picks up the phone and calls 9 other people and you get 9 other people to vote, you will have voted 10 times. You know, maybe you're not yet old enough to vote. Do you know that if you get 10 other people to vote, you will have voted 10 times before you turn 18? That's how we win. From the grassroots, uniting the party. If we continue to unite the Republican Party, we will win the Republican nomination. And if we continue to unite America, we will win the general election, beat Hillary Clinton, and turn this country around. Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan. And I am convinced the most long-lasting legacy of Barack Obama is going to be a new generation of leaders in the Republican Party who stand and fight for liberty, who stand and fight for the Constitution, and who stand and fight for the